Well, it is 19 years ago this week that one of the most famous days, not just in Australian football history, but in world football history, occurred at the rather unlikely surrounds of the International Sports Stadium in Coffs Harbour. Australia were playing American Samoa in an Oceania World Cup qualifier, and just a few days beforehand, they thrashed Tonga by 22 goals to nil. But I don't think anybody could have predicted what came next. Australia, of course, as you know by now, defeated American Samoa by 31 goals to nil. A world record and also an individual world record for Archie Thompson, who scored an amazing 13 goals in that particular match. Archie, good to be sharing these memories with you. What do you remember of that day? Before we get on to the game itself, because as I mentioned, there was a 22-0 win over Tonga 2 days prior. John Aloisi and Damien Murray had scored 10 goals between them in that game, but they were dropped some reward, and a new team was put in place, including yourself.
Yeah, well, look, it was a rotation system back then, and because we know that the opposition wasn't going to be great. And to be fair, it was my first sort of time in a camp with such a big players. I mean, I actually looked at the team sheet just before we did this, and I mean, I look at it. There's Craig Moore, Kevin Muscat, Butsianis, Vidmar, you know, David Drillich. I mean, all these quality players that, you know, were up and probably causing a lot of nightmares for a lot of the Samoans still to this day. But look, it was an incredible moment for me because to be part of such a quality Socceroo team, which I hadn't previously, and again, to score a world record. And I didn't even actually know that I scored 13 goals during the game. I mean, it was just goal after goal, and I didn't even know who scored. I mean, I thought that actually David Drillich scored more goals than I did. But look, it was an experience and something that I'll never forget. You know, that question about, you know, the world record against American Samoa, how do you feel? I still get it asked 19 years later, and I'm sure I'll be continued to throughout my life to be asked the same question.
Well, let's start running through the goals because it might take some time. Strangely enough, it took Australia 10 minutes to actually get off the mark, and it was Butsianis who opened the scoring straight from a corner. Yeah,
well, look, it was funny because we were peppering this poor keeper for the first 10 minutes and not scoring. So we actually thought it was going to be one of those games where, you know, the scoreline mightn't have been what it was going to be because we just, you know, they just seemed to be riding their luck. But as soon as that first goal went in, yeah, everything that was put into that front third seemed to go on the back of the net. And I mean, I look at some of the goals, and I've watched a few of the goals over the time. They were quality finishes. We can't forget that. I mean, a lot of the shots that I was hitting were going top corners. So even a quality keeper, I'm sure, would have struggled with some of the shots that I was putting out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure the defending was of too much top quality. You got your first goal, Archie, in the 12th minute. By half time, and I've got the notes in front of me, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 goals before the referee blew the half-time whistle. Was there a point where you were just thinking, this is absolutely surreal?
I think there was actually a photo that's out there where a group of us were together after scoring one of the goals, or even maybe looking at the scoreline, and we all just had our hands on our head going, what the hell's going on here? But that was Oceania qualifying. I mean, we knew that any team that was probably less, or we were going to beat them by some margin. But to be honest, I didn't even think that was going to be. I'm a little bit disappointed because I actually thought that I finished the second half stronger than the first half. So that's the first time that I knew that I actually only scored 8 in the first one and only 5 in the second, which is a little bit disappointing. But it was just funny because I think we had Damien Murray on the bench screaming at the keeper to get back on his line because he actually thought that his goal scoring record with Australia was going to be gone in that game. So even he was barracking against us. So I mean, it was fun time.
Archie, at any point during this goal fest, did you sort of stop as a team and feel maybe we should ease up a bit here, feel a bit sorry for the opposition because they were clearly so totally outclassed. Did that ever enter your mind, or was it more of a case of, look, we've got to be professional, and the best way to pay respect is to actually just keep trying to score?
For me, it was because like I said, it was the first time that I've been part of a Socceroo team or setup where there's been so many quality players and so many of the first team players that have played in, qualifiers, big matches. And for me, it was an opportunity because I got my foot in the door to show what I've got, regardless of what opposition it was. So for my mindset was to score as many goals as I can, take my opportunity. Okay, it was against American Samoa and they were not great, but for me and most of the teams, because there was a couple of players there too that were fringe players and wanted to oppress, because just around the corner there was the big qualifiers, and that was against I think it was Uruguay back then. So for me it was okay, business as usual, regardless of the opposition. Want to show that I'm more than capable of coming into an Australian setup and score goals. Funny enough, I didn't get selected for the Uruguay games, but had to wait another 4 years. But that night was special, and I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to play in those games. But like I said, for me, that was my mindset, that I wanted to obviously cement my spot in a quality Socceroo team.
Do you have a favourite goal out of the 13 that you scored? Let's delve deep into that memory bank.
Yeah, well, look, there's so many, and as you know, Simon, I've scored a lot more since that time. But it would probably be. I remember one I hit a left foot, and I'm not left-footed, so I hit one that went pigeon. That I thought that was. Look, to be honest, they all went bottom corners, and I was going, pigeons and all that sort of stuff. But there was one that I hit with my left that I thought was quite good, and it went top corner. There was one also too, I think. A ball got played in, and keeper came running out, and I just sort of lobbed it over his head and with the head, which was quite a good goal. But look, there was a number of them. I mean, we still had to do a job. We tried to play as pretty football as we could to entertain the people that were there. But look, I think the left footer that I hit top corner was pretty spectacular. I don't think any keeper would have stopped that.
Do you ever have conversations or feel sorry for David Strelic? Because he scored 8 goals in this game and is totally forgotten. I mean, scoring 8 goals in an international fixture would normally earn you all the headlines for the next 20 years. He's been forgotten about completely because of you.
Is that why he never answers my calls? I actually didn't realise that he had scored so much. Well, I'm good mates with Dave, and we still have a laugh about that match. And yeah, when you think that your partner scored 8 goals, that they would be talked about. But unfortunately, someone scored 13, and that was me. But one thing I will say about scoring 13 goals and which kind of maybe halted, made it tough for me when I first went to Europe, was because I went to Europe on the back end of that game, and obviously someone sees someone scoring 13 goals, they're thinking, oh wow, man, he's a bargain. And I went over there, and then everyone was expecting 13 goals every single game. But I had to tell them that their best player was the goalkeeper, and he couldn't even stop 31 goals. So look, it did make it hard afterwards because everyone had huge expectations of me. But hey, I've got a world record. Not many players can say they've got a world record.
The goalkeeper, a man by the name of Nicky Salapu, I'm not sure he ever recovered from this game. I know he went on to continue playing for the best part of the next 20 years. In fact, in 2019, he was still playing World Cup qualifiers for American Samoa, and he was determined to avenge that particular scoreline. Did you ever speak to him afterwards? You ever have any conversation with him after this game?
I'm sure I've had plenty of conversations in his nightmares, but nothing in reality. But look, there was a documentary that probably you would have seen, a lot of people would have seen, which was Next Goal Wins, which was, I think, based on their qualification. not particularly our game, but I think, obviously it stemmed from that. And I've seen a lot of I only just watched it recently too, that doco, and it did show that he wanted to obviously right some of the wrongs that were, in that match. I'm happy that he's still continued to this day to try to do better. But I actually thought about it that because when they were doing that documentary, they actually came and asked a lot of us that had played in that game some questions. And I actually would have thought that it would have been really cool to maybe go to American Samoa, maybe sit down, talk about the game. Even if you want to maybe have a penalty competition to maybe kind of save some of my shots that he didn't save during the game, which I think would be pretty cool, because I'd love to go see American Samoa. And we've got to remember too, before the game, the guys didn't even have boots. I think some of the guys didn't even have boots, so the federation actually had to give these guys some boots, which is a really nice little story too, because a lot of these players hadn't even ventured out of their country, and to get the opportunity to play against guys that were playing in the Premier League, playing in the Championship, in some of the big clubs in Europe. I mean, I know as much as they probably hate the scoreline, they could probably say to their grandkids that, we played against the world's best, which was, some of those players in that Socceroo team at the time.
And generally, this fixture, the result of which it became sort of the catalyst to change things in Oceania. And as we now know, in 2006, Australia moved over to Asia for better competitive matches. And that has to be a good thing. I mean, this doesn't do anybody any good, does it? These blowouts, either Australia, the winning team, or American Samoa, because really, what do they learn from getting utterly flogged by 20 or 30 goals?
Yeah, well, look, I think this was definitely the result that probably FFA wanted, or even the federations wanted, pure to go into Asia, have some tougher competition. I know from a player's point of view, it's great because, like I say, you get more internationals under your belt. You are playing against quality opposition, and it's a great opportunity to get the team and squad together. I mean, I was part of the Socceroos way back when there'd be only a handful of games in a season, in a year, and to sort of get that fluency when you did come into camp was always difficult, especially against those really quality opposition. So I think nowadays it's great to see that we are up against some quality opposition. Players get to play more matches. Players that are on the fringe of the Socceroos have more of an opportunity to play games and to be part of it, knowing there's a lot more fixtures ahead. And that's probably one thing that I missed out on a lot growing up through Socceroos is, being a fringe player, you didn't get many opportunities. Nowadays, being a fringe player, one or two players are out, you get your opportunity. So I think it's great for the players.
Here's the quiz question for you, Archie. Who scored Australia's first goal as a part of Asia in 2006?
Was it me?
It was you.
Yeah. Yes.
Against Bahrain.
Hey, Bahrain's quality too, mate. Don't worry. I think it was 3-1 we actually won that. Mate.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Another bit of history.
Another record for you, mate.
Yeah, just keep coming. But especially that 13-1 and 13-1. So don't bring attention to that one, please.
You do have a world record. You broke the international record, held prior to that by Sophus Nielsen of Denmark and Gottfried Fuchs of Germany, both of whom scored 10 in a game at the Olympics of 1908 and 1912. But I'm going to tell you something here, Archie, that you might not know. In terms of all-time professional football, you only have a share of the record. Did you know that?
No, who's this guy? I want to hunt him down. Where is it?
Well, it might be tricky because it happened in 1885. A player called John Petrie for Arbroath also scored 13 in their 36-0 win over Bonaccord in the Scottish Cup. So you've only got a half share, Arch. I'm sorry to break it to you.
Yeah, well, that's disappointing. Can we just keep that on the down low? Let's cut that bit out because I don't want anybody to be looking up this because there's only one person that scored 13 goals in an international game or a football match. That's a record. It's funny you throwing out these. You've done a bit of research in your time there, Tom. I would not even have an idea about that. Like a lot of those things. I actually thought that was a number 111, and now I find out it's not. And now I'm finding out there's someone else that scored 13 goals.
You still got the international record, Archie. You're okay.
Oh, okay, good, because I was just about to hang up, mate. I was seriously just about to hang up.
Final question, Archie. And again, sort of the unwritten story about this is that on the back of this, you score 13 goals. Australia wins 31-0. Headlines around the world. 3 days later, you play another World Cup qualifier against Fiji.
I knew you were going to say.
And you're dropped. He drops you. You started on the bench. What happened?
Yeah, it's a rotation system. It doesn't matter. Like if it's well, look, the game before we beat Tonga like 22-0, and a couple of those players had to sit on the bench. They probably felt a little bit dirty, but I knew that I was going to be sitting on the bench the next game, and it was probably against probably an opposition that would have been a bit more of a threat, as in Fiji. But look, it was pretty special. And look, it was something that I'll obviously hold pretty close to my heart. I've got probably about 7, 8 Guinness Book of Records sitting at Mum's that she seems to keep buying every year, thinking that I think there was a picture in the first one just after that, but now it's just slowly over the years. You can just
wait till they hear about John Petrie.
Oh, mate, don't you dare! Don't you dare! That's my claim to fame. That 30 goals. Don't take that away from me.
Nobody will ever take it away from you, Archie. Absolutely.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. End.